What will be the force that ultimately provides a lasting counterbalance to expanding government power? To find a lasting counterpower to the government, it is necessary to search for large groups of individuals who would have no reason to seek government favors or to be appeased by promises of coercive power. These individuals would need to be capable of earning a living entirely without government assistance. Indeed, they would need to perceive government as only capable of doing harm to their personal economic aspirations. They would find taxation, inflation, and regulation only burdensome, as such government actions would deprive them of wealth and inhibit their attempts to earn more of it. There is one means of earning income which can never be benefited by government action: making money on the Internet. The ability to systematically earn money on the Internet is extremely new. Only during the past several years have sizable numbers of people been able to substantially supplement their incomes by working online. But the infrastructure for doing so has emerged at an astounding rate, and it can only expand in the future. Governments are seldom able to even predict the form in which opportunities for earning an income online will take, much less to regulate these activities. Furthermore, as entertainment industry associations like the RIAA and the MPAA, today's equivalent of medieval guilds, are beginning to find out to their despair, even basic copyright regulations are virtually unenforceable online. If some online businessman should try to obtain economic protections from the government in the future, he will find that these protections are mere words on paper, having no practical bearing on Internet commerce. Most online producers, being among the more perceptive members of the population, will quickly recognize the futility of appealing to the government for special favors. Once enough people are able to earn a full living online, the structure of American society, and Western societies in general, will undergo a radical transformation. Without relying on working in a particular building or locale, the new online producers will find that they can live anywhere they want, provided that they can maintain access to the Internet. They will naturally drift toward areas where real estate values are low, away from cities, which have become nexi of government power, and into the country, where they can obtain vast houses and comfortable standards of living for a fraction of what they would spend in the cities. The effect of first hundreds of thousands, and then millions, of high-income Americans moving to the country will be to create a meritocratic American landed gentry, with all the virtues of the old aristocracies and none of the vices. Membership in this vast prosperous class will be open to anyone with the skills to earn a living and the desire to lead a comfortable lifestyle detached from the tumult and political controls of metropolitan areas. Thus, this particular aristocracy will not degenerate by placing the circumstances of its members' birth above their personal merits. On the other hand, the high personal standards and cultural tastes of historical aristocracies will be magnified in the new landed gentry. Having cheap access to products of high culture, the arts, the sciences, and sound political and economic education, the new gentry will reject the crude mass media culture that thrives on individual perceptions of insignificance. Instead, each of the new aristocrats of merit will have his own sizable domain to beautify and form in his image. Seeking to at least appear a good steward of his property, he will endeavor to show good personal taste and considerable autonomy in his beliefs and practices. He will not need the government to educate him, morally improve him, or aid him in managing his affairs. Indeed, he would be gravely insulted at any governmental attempt to interfere in his tightly interwoven economic and personal life. After all, if the government sought to wield its influence in his domain, he would no longer be master of it. The educational influence of government will plummet, as the new landed gentry refuse to send their children to the public schools. A vibrant alternative educational network of private schools, tutors, and homeschooling parents will compete with the public school system and cultivate an entirely different set of values. Intellectual autonomy instead of conformity and obedience. Frugality instead of a focus on consumption. Long-term planning instead of living for the moment. And internal discipline instead of external control. Millions of people will be brought up to think that they simply do not need the government to improve their lives, since the government can only inflict harm on them, given their economic situation and means of making a living. Since the government will never be able to engage in effective economic protectionism on the internet, this perception will remain justified for many generations at least. Besides, who among the new landed gentry would wish to feed at the political trough of government, perhaps hoping for a minor political appointment or an indirect influence on an office holder, when he could have the powers of a king over his own life and sizable property? On the other hand, the new landed class will remain politically active in its vigilance against governmental encroachments. After all, while the government could do the new aristocracy no good, it will still be able to inflict tremendous harm, and this harm will be resisted vigorously with all the extensive resources at the property owner's disposal. If this counterpower of the future systematically wins its struggle against existing political elites, we will not need fear the emergence of a new political elite. The new aristocrats, having confined the government to its narrow proper role, will withdraw to their estates and live happily without exerting political power on anyone. The prestige of holding a government office will diminish dramatically, as senators, representatives, and presidents will come to be seen as little more than police sheriffs are today. Government offices will become means of earning a moderate living by protecting basic individual rights. The real money and status will be found in the dynamic, ever-evolving private sector, where ambitious individuals will hope to earn enough money to purchase large estates of their own. Thus, a permanent counterpower like the one described above will serve as the outside force necessary to transform the current power asymmetry between government and individuals to a no-harm power symmetry between individuals and government, and an equal harm power symmetry among the population at large, as each of the new estates will have ample security to protect it, while the non-landed citizens will be allowed the full freedom to own and carry arms. Only continued technological progress and the development of the accompanying economic infrastructure are necessary for an effective counterpower to the government to arise. Once this occurs, true liberty will be within reach. So what is the best way that you can assist this development? Well, the obvious solution is to try to become one of the members of the new counterpower. In order to do that, you will need to be able to generate a sizable independent income that does not depend on any particular location, and that the government cannot amplify through any kinds of laws, edicts, restrictions, or regulations. Furthermore, I would advise that you assist the developments of any kinds of technologies that make this kind of income earning possible, and ensure that these technologies are not suppressed in the near future by political means. Once enough of these technologies emerge, and once they continue to advance at a certain rate, they will be unstoppable, particularly because the government will have no means and no knowledge to be able to keep up with them, much less regulate them. And then, the emergence of the new counterpower will be a historical inevitability, as will the advent of liberty.